At the dim, rusted halls of the orbital cantina aboard the remote station in the Orion Belt, I first heard the story that would change my understanding of the galaxy. The cantina's walls, scarred by decades of cosmic battles, bore the marks of countless encounters, and its low, flickering lights cast long shadows on the weathered metal floors. I sat at a battered table in a quiet corner while the low hum of conversation and the clatter of worn-out equipment filled the background. It was here that an aged alien veteran, known to many simply as Commander Rek, began to speak in a clear, unadorned voice about the one subject that made many of our kind shudder: humans. He explained that even though humans possessed technology that we thought was inferior and crude, it was their unpredictable spirit and raw passion for life that made them dangerous. Humans, he said slowly, fight not with perfect plans, but with hearts full of fire and minds that refuse to be confined by logic. As he sipped a drink that glowed faintly in the dim light, he recounted how our advanced military strategies had crumbled in the face of human unpredictability. In that moment, the cantina, with its peeling paint and echoing footsteps, became the silent witness to a confession that shook the core of our carefully ordered universe. The veteran's words were simple and direct, yet they carried the weight of a truth that many of us had long ignored. That true power does not always lie in flawless tactics or state-of-the-art weaponry, but in the wild, untamed drive to survive and to overcome, no matter the odds. His tone was matter-of-fact, and his eyes, deep and weathered, told stories of battles where cold calculations had been replaced by fierce, unexpected courage. That night, as I scribbled down every word on my datapad, the truth began to dawn on me. Our greatest fear was not a superior force or a mysterious enemy, but a species whose very soul could not be measured by logic alone. At the cracked, abandoned remnants of the once mighty galactic capital, now little more than shattered spires and scorched ruins under the unyielding glare of a dying black star, I began my journey to understand a dark truth that many across the galaxy whispered about in hushed tones. I stood on a crumbling observation platform where debris from long-forgotten battles lay scattered like broken dreams. It was here, among the remnants of a civilization that had fallen prey to human ambition, that I first saw the evidence of their cruelty. The buildings, once symbols of hope and unity, were now monuments to chaos. Every wall bore the scars of violent conflict. Every corridor echoed with the memories of lives destroyed. I recalled how human fleets, driven by an insatiable hunger for power and wealth, had swept through this star system without mercy. They had razed cities, enslaved entire populations, and transformed vibrant worlds into desolate wastelands. Their advanced technology and brutal tactics had enabled them to impose their will on others, leaving behind nothing but sorrow and ruin. The silence of the ruined capital spoke louder than any confession, a silence that told the tragic story of a people whose greed had overshadowed all morality, turning them into a force of unmitigated evil in the galaxy. At the ancient, echoing halls of the Solarian Council Chamber, deep within a fortress carved into the crystalline mountains of planet Solaria, the full extent of human cruelty was laid bare during a solemn interspecies assembly. The vast chamber, with its high vaulted ceilings and intricate murals depicting the peaceful history of countless worlds, now served as a stage for bitter testimony. Alien delegates, their expressions etched with grief and resolve, recounted how human invaders had stormed their peaceful gatherings, leaving destruction in their wake. In simple, matter-of-fact language, elders from once proud civilizations told stories of human brigades burning villages and corrupting governments with promises of progress that ended in slavery and despair. I listened as one Solarian elder described how human mercenaries had exploited the natural resources of their world, stripping the land bare and poisoning the very water that sustained life. Their actions were not driven by a need to simply conquer, but by a relentless pursuit of dominance and a callous disregard for life itself. In that vast, solemn chamber, lit only by the soft glow of ancient luminescence, it became clear that the evil of humanity was not accidental. It was a deliberate, calculated force that thrived on the suffering of others. The Council's decision to archive every grim detail was a testament to the belief that only by facing their own history could these worlds hope to protect themselves from further human exploitation. On the frozen, wind-swept plains of Nivoris, a barren moon where the landscape was a vast, endless expanse of ice and jagged rock, I witnessed firsthand the devastating legacy of human tyranny. The air was bitterly cold and the horizon stretched out in a monotony of white and gray, broken only by the dark silhouettes of ruined outposts and deserted mining stations. It was here, in this remote and desolate place, that refugees of human aggression had been forced to seek shelter after their home worlds were ravaged by imperialistic raids. I wandered along a narrow ridge overlooking a valley littered with the wreckage of settlements, where the once vibrant communities had been reduced to charred ruins and frozen memories. Survivors, gaunt and broken, spoke in trembling voices of how human war machines had descended upon their peaceful colonies like locusts, leaving nothing but despair in their wake. Their simple accounts of pillaging and brutality were not embroidered with heroism but recounted in plain, heartbreaking detail. Homes razed to the ground, families torn apart, and a future stolen by those who cared nothing for mercy. The frozen silence of Nivoris was punctuated only by the mournful cries of the wind, a natural elegy to lives destroyed by human greed. In that harsh environment, I came to understand that the evil of humanity was not a matter of advanced weaponry alone. It was their cold, calculating indifference to the suffering of others that made them truly monstrous. Inside the stark, metallic walls of the Tribunal of the Stars on Varastra, a planet known throughout the galaxy as a center for justice and truth, I attended a historic trial that sought to condemn the crimes of human aggressors. The tribunal hall was vast and austere, with rows of polished benches under a high, arched ceiling, and an enormous holo display that chronicled the atrocities committed by human forces. Delegates from every corner of the galaxy had gathered here, their faces grave as they prepared to bear witness to the evidence of human cruelty. In simple, deliberate statements, witnesses recounted the unspeakable acts. Entire worlds razed in the pursuit of profit, cultures erased by indiscriminate violence, and alliances shattered by deceit and betrayal. One witness, a survivor of a destroyed world, described how human colonizers had invaded her planet under the guise of civilization building, only to enslave her people and strip the planet of its natural beauty. The testimonies, unadorned and direct, painted a picture of a species that saw other beings not as partners in a cosmic community but as obstacles to be eliminated or exploited. In that cold, unforgiving hall of justice, the facts were laid bare in a way that required no embellishment. The evil of humanity was written in the blood of millions, and their actions had left scars that no treaty or pardon could ever heal. The tribunal's verdict was not merely a judgment on isolated incidents but a condemnation of an entire way of thinking, a declaration that the galaxy would no longer tolerate the unbridled ambition and cruelty that defined human expansion. At the wreckage of the once mighty starship Dominion, now a twisted skeleton of metal adrift near a dying red giant, I found the final, undeniable proof of humanity's dark legacy. The station lay in eerie silence, its corridors echoing with the ghostly remnants of battles long past, its once proud banners tattered and faded. I walked through the desolate remains, stepping over debris and shattered screens that still displayed frozen images of human conquest. Here, amidst the ruin, I pieced together the story of how humanity had become known as the evil ones in the galaxy. Their rise to power had been marked not by the noble pursuit of knowledge or peace, but by an insatiable drive to dominate and control. Time and again, human fleets had swept through the stars, leaving devastation in their wake. They had built empires on the ruins of civilizations and imposed their will through force and subterfuge. In simple, unembellished terms, the evidence was all around. Ruined worlds, enslaved populations, and a trail of broken alliances that spanned star systems. The Dominion itself was a symbol of their ambition, a vessel that had once represented hope and progress but had become a floating mausoleum of human greed. As I stood there, the dying light of the red giant bathed the wreckage in a blood-like hue, and the truth was as clear as the frozen air around me. Humanity had embraced a darkness that corrupted everything it touched. Their methods were ruthless, their ambitions unchecked by conscience, and their legacy one of suffering and despair for those who fell under their shadow. The starship's twisted remains served as a lasting reminder that in the quest for power, humanity had lost sight of all that was good and just, replacing compassion with cruelty and cooperation with conquest. In the quiet aftermath of my journey, as I sat on the cold, metallic steps of an abandoned observation deck aboard a derelict cruiser orbiting a fading star, I reflected on the dark path that had brought humanity to infamy across the galaxy. The observation deck, a small platform overlooking the vast emptiness of space, offered a moment of solitude and introspection. The view before me was one of endless stars and the haunting glow of distant explosions, testaments to countless battles waged in the name of human ambition. I thought back to every place I had visited. The shattered galactic capital where once beautiful structures lay in ruin, the solemn Solarian council chamber where grieving elders recounted unspeakable horrors, the frozen wastes of Nivoris, where the echoes of lost lives whispered in the wind, the austere tribunal of the stars on Verostra, where cold justice had meted out harsh truths, and finally, the wreck of the Dominion, a stark symbol of human cruelty. Each location had revealed a fragment of the same terrible story, a story of a species that had chosen power and greed over empathy and unity. Humans had not risen to greatness through noble deeds, but through acts of cruelty, exploitation, and an unyielding desire to impose their will on the universe. Their actions had sown discord and pain across countless worlds, and their legacy was one of scars that no amount of time or remorse could ever erase. In that silent moment, as the stars wheeled slowly above, I understood that the label of evil was not merely a reflection of isolated events, but a deep-rooted truth about a civilization that had forgotten the meaning of compassion. The galaxy, in its infinite vastness, had become a canvas painted with the dark hues of human ambition, hues that would serve as a warning to all who might one day seek power at any cost. I closed my eyes and vowed to carry this truth forward, to ensure that the sacrifices of those who suffered at the hands of humanity would never be forgotten, and that future generations would learn that true greatness lies not in domination, but in the shared light of cooperation and understanding.